Hello everyone. So today we are going to implement another trigger type for our demo level. If I stay in this area without proceeding further, enemies will infinitely come to this area so that I can make sure that the player is always engaged and the player will be forced to kill these guys and move forward. And also I'm gonna introduce a constraint that not more than 2 enemies will be present at any given time. So yeah, this is the system in action. And also once I'm going to implement 2 triggers on the same trigger start point and trigger end point. So this is the end point. Once I go past this point, this trigger will be stopped so that no more dynamic respawning will happen. So perhaps you can put another trigger here with different enemy spawn locations so that you can continue the same behavior throughout the level. So let's see how to implement this today. Right, so this is what we have at the moment. Our guy can go here and start shooting. So once I pass this point, the second wave of enemies are loaded and coming in to shoot at me. That's basically what happens. So now what I want to do is, what happens if I stay in the same place without going further? So I just kill these 2 enemies and I don't go any further. So everything would be silent. So to prevent that, I want a mechanism to send enemies towards me if I am not moving forward. So how can we do something like that? Right. So what I'm thinking of is implementing a way to spawn enemies and send to me. So let's implement that as another trigger. We already have the triggers, a lot of triggers actually here. So I'll create a child blueprint from the main BP trigger. Let's name it enemy spawn. Right, now how do we spawn? So let's add a function, a custom event spawn enemies, and spawn actor from class. So here let's add another scene component to represent spawn point. Right, so let's get the spawn point and get world location. I don't think we need to set a rotation, so location should be enough. Adjust location, but always spawn. Let's try that. So we need to spawn enemies. That means these guys, ALS and BC. Right. One more thing. Do we have to activate the AI also? Auto process AI placed in word. I'll set it to place in word or spawn, so they will all the AI will be automatically activated. Okay, now the spawn character, let's add to an array. Spawn, let's call it spawn actors, and I think having just an actor array should be enough here. So this has to be an array. Unique. Even add would also work in this situation. So before we spawn, we have to make sure that we are not exceeding a set maximum enemy count, but let's think about that later. First, let's see if this is spawning and attacking us working. So to spawn enemies, on trigger, we have this on trigger event. Here let's make it once node, because this should, oh wait, no need, we already have this repetitive, so we can disable that. So this will be called only once, and let's call this spawn enemies in a timer. Let's set a timer. Start set timer by function name. Function name is spawn enemies, and let's spawn enemies in every 10 seconds, and it should be loading. And on end trigger, sorry, no, trigger end, event on trigger end. So here we should clear this timer, so let's call this spawn time. So this is to make sure that after we pass some point, we should spawn enemies from this trigger. So spawn timer, clear, and validate timer by hand. Right. And another thing is, once we spawn these enemies, we also need to make sure that they are going to attack the enemy. So like they already know about the player, because this is like a war situation. So for that, actually we implemented a noise making mechanism here. Oh, it's already in the main trigger. Yeah, so let's give it a delay of 1 second. No, not here. Yeah, here. Delay of 1 second. and let's call trigger noise. We implemented this function in the last episode. It's just this. Okay, now let's test this. So initially, let me remove these two enemies and let's see how dynamically enemies are spawned. Now I'll put this trigger in here. Let's place it here. So trigger start. I'll move it to this place. So once we exit this area, the trigger will be automatically started. And trigger end, I'll place it over here. So we should continuously see enemies coming at me until we pass this point. Maybe, yeah, let's test it. And the spawn point, this one. Well, to be able to see, let me just put it here so we can see if the enemies are actually spawning. And yeah, let's check. No one is spawning. Oh yeah, it is working. Okay, it's working. So why did it take some time? Oh yeah, I think it takes 10 seconds to start to spawn the first enemy. Okay, now let's move the spawn point to somewhere like this. Well, if we want, we can either have multiple spawn points, so we will see like enemies are coming from different places. So if we duplicate this spawn point 1, spawn point 2, and let's select this randomly. Now enemy spawner, spawn point 1 is already there, 2 is already there, 1 is here. So let's move the spawn point 1 behind these boxes. This should work. Okay, now let's see. Now if I stay here, we should start seeing enemies coming after 10 seconds. stun is spawned. They are coming. Okay, it's working. See, great. So as long as we stay here, the enemies keep coming. So the next improvement I want to do is we also make sure that we are not overwhelming the player. So for that, you can do something like this. Here we are adding these spawned actors into this spawned actors array, and before we spawn an actor, we can do the spawned actors for each loop. Let's have another variable and count, or rather live in count. Because only the live enemy count is that matters. So set live enemy count to 0 before we start calculating the live enemies. Is alive. This is another function that we already have within our character interface. If this is true, we can increment this. Right, and then we can check if the live enemy count is less than, let's have another variable, max live enemies, let's say 2. Perhaps we can bind this with the difficulty of the game. If this is true, we are allowed to spawn more enemies. If it is false, we can't. Right. Now also I think it would be better if we reduce this timer. Okay. Now we will not see more than 2 enemies at a given time, as long as we are staying in this area. Okay, 2 enemies are there. So even if I don't kill them, I should not get more than these 2 enemies until I kill these 2. See, now another one is spawned. Okay, once I go past this point, that spawning mechanism is disabled, and you can see the next level is loaded, but the procedural spawning of the enemies is not working anymore, because here I am, this is the, wait, for this one we have trigger end set up over here. Oh yeah, we have to go here. So yeah, if you want, yeah, you can now design the level with this trigger by placing multiple different triggers. So for example, you can have another enemy spawner over here, and that has the maybe the spawning points like here or somewhere else. So yeah, this is all I wanted to do for this episode. So thanks for watching. As always, project files will be available for the download in the Patreon page. Link would be in the description below. If you like to support my work, you can get the membership of the Patreon club. See you in another episode. Goodbye.